Parties Podcast, WATP.
Rich Voss, as we know, because we documented it on WATP. Rich Voss tweeted at Stuttering John Melendez. And John's response, he called him a middle. And John's response was to freak the fuck out at Rich and claim that he's not a middle. And he actually, and I didn't even pick up on this, when we were playing the clips of this on the show, I just showed the couple responses that John had. I didn't even realize John was actually tweeting photos of him headlining at different clubs to prove to Rich that he actually had headlined before.
Oh, Rich probably. I could hear his laughter when he saw those. I could hear him laughing.
He couldn't believe it. He's like, what? I can't believe this guy is responding to this in this way. So Rich is on Jim and Sam Thursday morning, and he brings this up, this exchange he had. And I have to tell you, listen to Sam Roberts' glee. This made me so happy right here.
Who's the guy that Florentine? I can't.
Don Jameson.
No, a comic.
Sorry,
Chaz, whatever. I can't think.
Chad. Chad
Zumock.
Chad Zumock.
Yeah.
Chad Zumock. I did hear about that. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I'm excited. Yeah,
I didn't hear this.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you entered the dabbleverse.
Yeah.
What's the dabbleverse exactly?
Rich Voss is in the dabbleverse. Mike, how happy are you?
So wait.
The dabbleverse.
And I've heard the term.
I hear the name Chad Zumock, and I get very excited.
So the dabbleverse is, remember Stuttering John?
Sure. Oh,
Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
So Stuttering John has created, there's a universe that is centered all around
People that hate him.
Stuttering John and making fun of Stuttering John and like monitoring his show and watching it all the time. And it's called the dabbleverse. And there's a group of people that like, it's like the Bravo-verse. Like they follow the Dabbleverse like it's their, Real Housewives or whatever. Like it goes so deep.
Why don't they like John?
There's new stuff every day. Like they make videos of him blowing snot out of his nose and stuff. It's
John's the one who makes those videos. We just play them and react to it.
It's a good point. We don't make those.
Yeah, we're not forcing John to blow snot on his face during a show. Did you hear that Sam goes, oh, Mike, when they brought up the Dabbleverse, Mike Montone is the producer over there. I guess he's a big fan of all things Dabbleverse.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I love that Sam knows this so well. He goes, oh, actually, I did hear about that, which means he probably watched WATP because we were the ones that covered that pretty extensively on this show. So this is Sam explaining the Twitter exchange that started all of this.
It goes, Chad Zumock says, I'm doing this show. Stut Joe says, come on my show to promote it. Chad Zumock says, when? Rich Voss, just out of nowhere, just pops out of a bush and replies, I thought you two were enemies. I can't keep up with the middle drama. Just calling them both middles.
So then John goes nuts, right? He's like, fuck you. And he's like, he's putting up pictures of where he had. I didn't even know it was a comic.
Look at that. Okay, so Stuttering John responds.
I didn't even know he was a comic. Rich just said. Yeah, it's amazing.
My favorite telling there that Sam Roberts knows what's going on is he called him Stut Joe.
Yeah. Yes, he did that on purpose. Yeah. Just to like send the signal like, nah, I'm paying attention to this, guys.
Yeah.
So we played on Point Devil Point yesterday. Rich's show with Bonnie, My Wife Hates Me. They did about 12 minutes on this Twitter exchange before he went to Jim and Sam. It just came out yesterday, but he recorded it before that.
Okay.
So we played all of that, and Rich reiterated again, he did not know that John was a comic.
He told me that himself.
That's right. I mentioned on Point Devil Point that you got to have a lovely breakfast with Jim Florentine and Rich Voss after all this happened.
Yeah, I fucking slipped it in. He said something to me. I don't do your middle drama. And he just lost his mind. He goes, I didn't know that guy was a comic. It's like the first thing he says.
And the thing I pointed out yesterday on Point Devil Point, it's the same thing that Chrissy Mayer said when she asked, I didn't realize you dabbled in comedy,
right?
Is that these people are touring all over comedy clubs. Rich Voss is at every fucking comedy club in the U.S. over the last 35 years. If John was a comic, he would have seen his name somewhere. He would have seen a poster up. Comics know what other comics are on the road. They see each other based on what the club's promoting.
And here's the facts. The reason why John has headlined the rooms that he's headlined, and please know that I know what I'm talking about when I say this, is because there's a celebrity factor. When you have the credits, whether they're earned or not, there are people who will buy tickets.
Correct.
And that's what the business is. It's not noble, folks. It's not a noble business. So the point is, when people who have this level of celebrity get these gigs touring clubs, what happens is people will go see them once.
Yep.
And if they're not good, they don't come back.
Correct.
And the club may even bring them back a second time because the first time was good.
Yeah, so maybe they'll
So
sell
they'll bring
tickets
them back
again.
for a second
And
time.
then it fails and they go,
Yeah,
okay, not,
the law
not
of
more.
diminishing returns
Yep.
is very applicable to celebrity / comics touring.
You know, I've seen like Dave Foley's an example I just thought of.
Yeah.
Dave Foley's a guy I love. Loved him on Kids in the Hall. I loved a lot of the work that he's done since then. He's doing stand-up now. And I go, I don't know if he's a stand-up, but let's go watch him. I love Dave Foley. He was great. I'd go see him again. I recommended him to everyone I knew. But that's an example of, all right, I'm going to see him because he's a celebrity and I know his work. I don't know that he's a comic.
Yeah.
And then he's fantastic.
And then there's Skippy Price.
Correct. Yes. There's a lot of examples. In fact, I was just going to say, as you were explaining that, it's so funny how these credits have changed because, so John gets on the marquee because like from the Howard Stern show and the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, it's
Yes.
Stern John. Now, when you go to these comedy clubs, they all say from TikTok. You know this person from YouTube.
I look at the posters every fucking day of my life.
Yep.
Exactly. The credits that he has are aged out.
Yes.
I think I said this about Opie. It's like Fred Travolino when he realized the Jimmy Carter impression wasn't working anymore.
Correct.
And he thought about drinking. Like that's what happens is this shit ages out. Like Stern,
Yep.
dude, Stern isn't Stern anymore.
No one
Stern
cares.
was. And you pretty much blew it with that audience, dude. Like,
All right, let's continue this clip.
Middle, I headlined all the Improv's Laugh Factories and Punchline.
On Tuesdays. He called me a hack. I'm anything but a hack.
I also love like the idea of like you call somebody a middle
Yeah.
and they come back at you with facts. Here are places that I have headlined. You are wrong.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. John always reacts the wrong way. And he's stepped into it again, hasn't he? He really did step into it again because now, and I think I have a clip coming up in a minute where Stuttering John's just like, I know Jim and Sam are talking about me. It's like, yeah, this is what happens when you overreact to stupid tweets that somebody puts out, you fucking idiot.
the way this dabbleverse grows, you know, it started off here, then all of a sudden Shuli's involved, then
Yeah.
it's grown to, and now Rich Voss is watching. Now Jim and Sam are talking about it.
It's amazing.
They're mentioning it on fucking Legion of Skanks.
Yep.
And
Yeah, Big J Okerson brings it up.
I have to wonder what will be critical mass for this because at some point
Still growing.
it's going to keep growing.
It's still growing.
And then when everybody looks at it, I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, well, now Sam is going to
What a time to be alive.
Sam is going to prove that he's all in on the Dabbleverse as he explains the origin of it because Jim's just like, I don't get it. What's going on?
But he gets offended. You know, that's why they call it the Dabbleverse.
Holy fuck.
Because
well, then.
somebody accused him of dabbling in stand-up, and he got offended. They go, you dabble in stand-up.
Chrissy Mayer,
and he
yeah.
goes, dabble? I've been headlining. I don't dabble. I'm a stand-up.
Instead of just realizing that this is the way Voss teases every comic.
Yeah.
Voss is like
That's
this.
why-
If I tweeted something, Voss would have said, I don't get involved with middle drama.
It's
He
the
would have
same
said
thing.
that to me. He would have said it to any comic he knows.
Right.
Yes, and we talked about this. We covered this because you and I were talking about it, Vinny,
Yeah.
that Voss busts everyone's balls. Every comic. That's his thing. He loves busting their balls. In fact, he's got a very funny example of this when he goes to different towns. You know, they'll usually have a local MC on the show.
Oh, I'm aware.
Most MCs on the road, when I'm leaving at the end, I go, do you have my number? They go, no. And I go, good, and walk away.
He does.
That's who Voss
Hysterical.
is. Yes, it's hilarious.
You know, I love Rich, and I don't know if I've ever said this on the show, but I legitimately really, really respect and love Rich because he got me my very first guest spot.
Oh, no
that
shit.
got me paid work.
No shit.
And the reason he did it was to bust another open micer's balls. And it was the fucking
reason.
greatest, funniest fucking thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting at the comics table at the old club in Webster. I'm sitting there very quietly, just shocked that Rich Voss is hanging out at this table.
Yep.
And he's being very generous. And this one guy, this annoying motherfucker, he's since disappeared, is telling Rich every fucking joke he's ever written. And Rich, I got this punchline, and then I say this, and then I do this, and everyone at the table is like, shut up. And Rich is just going, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I haven't said a word. I'm sitting there just like rolling my eyes. And Rich looks at me and goes, are you a comic? And I go, yeah, I'm trying to be. And he goes, you want to do 5 minutes tonight?
That's
He's
awesome.
in it right in front of that fucking guy to
That's
fuck
hilarious.
with him. And I ended up getting in the MC rotation because of that.
No
so,
shit. I
Fucking
don't know if
Rich
I knew
Voss.
that story. And also, you just did the show with Rich Voss, or the shows with Rich Voss weekend ago, and you said it was incredible.
He's the funniest
Working with him
fucking
was
guy.
great. Yeah, he's very funny.
I
He's very
love him.
funny.
He's hysterical. Like the energy, the presence and the energy is just something you have to witness.
He's a pro.
It's great.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever.
Don't be a comic if you're that thin-skinned. What the fuck? I'm sick of... And Bonnie and I talk about it all the time. They're all a bunch of fucking babies.
Right.
What the fuck? Go work at Apple.
Right, so he's got multiple responses to this.
So multiple. He's putting up that...
Yeah. So apparently, like I said, he was putting up multiple responses after it was just a joke, a throwaway, like middle drama.
Rich went out to play golf, comes back, looks at his phone.
Right.
What the fuck?
So then they bring up the fact that John went on his show and talked about Voss canceling a 9/11 show from 23 years ago. And we discussed this a little bit. I know you talked to Rich about it when you were talking to him in person, but this show occurred on the week of 9/11, that weekend.
Well, I was talking to him and Florentine, and Florentine
Yeah,
was
Florentine was on
it.
the show too, right? Yeah. So they both remember this.
Well, Jim is the one who said, I think we got paid for that.
Correct. Because when it was booked, it wasn't a charity show because 9/11 hadn't happened yet. That's the thing. They weren't just like, hey, there's going to be a horrible tragedy on this Tuesday. How about Friday? We've raised some money for it. Like that
They
wasn't
didn't
the
even
phone call
open
that came in on
schools.
June. Right.
Schools were fucking closed.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's a comedy benefit. Everybody's ready to laugh again.
Yes.
And I even tweeted to John, hey, I was joking, loosen up. Then he writes back to me, LOL, I just saw this. Right after he went on his podcast and Now, there's these other guys that do a podcast, and I'm sure they trash me and Bonnie. I think I heard they trash. It's called... who is this podcast?
Who are these podcasts?
Yeah.
Carl. Yeah, he's very funny.
Yeah,
They're deep in the dabbleverse,
Yeah, he's funny.
too.
Okay, so I'm sure they trash, but they did the whole show or all of it on there, and the guy is good. I said this on my
You talking
podcast.
about- yeah.
Carl, he's funny.
The guy, is he a
Brings some
comic?
points.
I don't know if he does stand up. He is a funny broadcaster, though.
Well, he had a Comic-Con, and they did the whole thing, and a lot of people don't like this Stuttering John for some reason, right? Mm-hmm. And he really reviewed it. Like, I was really pro this guy because he was saying nice things about me.
You like it when people are on
Sure.
Yeah.
He was saying nice things.
I'm glad Voss enjoyed it. I was saying yesterday, I go, maybe I should be nicer to people more often. This is great. Voss is on my side now. All I've ever done is make fun of the guy for his shitty podcast.
Do you remember earlier when I was saying that when Carl's happiness annoys me?
Yeah, that was an example.
we
right there. where Jim and Voss talk about how great I am.
And just Carl smiling from ear to ear.
God damn it. Yeah, I know. It's annoying. So then he says that Chad texted him. This is Rich talking. He goes, Chad texted me and said, John wants me to come on his show. And Rich was like, no fucking way. I'm not involved in this. I'm not in your world, idiot. I'm not coming on your show. So Rich is obviously using
Why
this
is
as fodder.
Chad booking it for John?
Great question, because I guess Chad has his number and John doesn't. But yeah, no, it's ridiculous. If I was Chad and John's like, hey, can you see if Rich will come on my show? I'm like, no, go fuck yourself. I don't know what to tell you. So then Sam's talking about his knowledge of the dabbleverse, some of the things we've covered over the years.
Because I dip in and dip out. Like, I was big in the Chad Zumach catalytic converter drama. Like, I
What
jump
was
in
that?
and jump out.
What was that? He stole a catalytic
It was when he
converter?
pretended that Anthony punched him in the face, and he was doing a bit or something. Like, because Anthony, or Anthony's
enough.
fan, he said, punched him in the face. But then it turned out he was not telling the truth, but he said he was doing a bit. But Anthony accused him of trying to steal catalytic converters. It was a whole thing. So
Why the fuck?
So
Where would he get the wrenches from?
I don't know.
That's my favorite. No one reacted to that line. I thought that was so funny. Steel catalytic converters. Where would he get the wrenches from?
Was that even a year ago?
It was about a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Time flies.
Time does fly by in the dabbleverse for sure. But I love that Sam's just going, oh, yeah, I dip in, I dip out. You know, Chad, he has a black eye. I'm in. Very funny stuff. All right. So then they talk about, like, Rich went over and watched John's show because he's hearing that John's talking all this trash about him. And he observed something that we all tend to observe when we watch John for the first time.
The guy's down in beers, or
He likes to drink.
he does.
Stuttering John on a podcast. I don't know. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, maybe on the podcast. I don't know him personally at all. I don't think I ever. Maybe I met him once in my life in 2000.
Well, it wasn't in 2001 because you canceled on him.
Yeah, so it might have been before that one.
Did you not care about 9/11?
No, you didn't.
You didn't care about that.
Voss felt that there were 19 lives to grieve.
Oh, I know which 19 it was.
That's some classic Jimmy right there. That's a good line.
It's very funny.
Very good line right there. All right. So I love that he goes, because Sam's trying to play both sides of this. Like, he knows everything, but he also has to be naive a little bit. He's like, yeah, so I'm watching the show. He downs a lot of beer. It's like, oh, yeah, Stuttering John drinks. Does he? He's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. That's what I hear. I don't know.
It's a word on the street.
Yeah, a couple people said it.
I hear that's the haps.
I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I think that's the haps. I'm pretty sure. So then Rich changes the conversation. Starts talking about Anthony. Did he make the move to South Carolina? What's going on with that? And God bless you, Sam Roberts. I got to give you credit. He steers it right back into the dabbleverse conversation.
Nice big house, too. I've seen photos of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of property.
Yeah,
He was
of
showing off
course.
his property the other day.
Yeah, and I'm sure guns to protect it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, does
What
she
did Bonnie think of the drama? Like,
She goes, don't get involved with it. And I don't. I wrote
well, you're
one
involved.
tweet.
Two tweets. Because you got involved. The original tweet, and then
I said
it was a joke, loosen the fuck with no C up.
All right. So he brings it back to the conversation. Thank you, Sam, for doing that, because they could have easily gone off on Anthony being crazy with guns in South Carolina. But they bring it back. And now Sam explains a little bit about what's going on with Rich bringing this up on the Sam and Jim show, the Jim and Sam show, I should say.
To
You're
me,
in.
I'm not in.
And you just did a podcast about it, bro?
No, not the whole. I just.
But you're in.
To
You
me,
know everybody's going to be playing clips. They're going to be, because you brought it up here.
Well, I did, because
They're
you
gonna
guys
be
are my buddies. So
But they're going to be playing clips of this show, and then it'll be just enough time to get them to Friday, where they're playing clips of your show.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be next week. You're going to be a part of it. Like, you're in, dude. You're in the dabbleverse.
Want me to tell you how? Well, one, it's for me, it's punching down, and I
It
don't
is?
like doing that.
You think you're above them?
Yes, he thinks he's above Stuttering John.
Yeah.
And he's right about that, for sure. So I just love that the Sam's like, well, this,
He thinks he's above Bonnie.
Oh, well, actually, that's funny that you say that, because this is a funny thing about Bonnie. This is the last clip I have.
I
Maybe
wonder
not.
what
Isn't
the
that
beef-
great though? Isn't that great though? Bonnie's out here getting deals with Hulu, and Rich is like, I've got my foot in the dabbleverse.
I think you should get Shuley on the phone and see what beef he has with Stuttering John.
Why you want this to become like Dabbleverse Central now? You are in, dude.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not. I like to hear this stuff, though. It's kind of funny.
Stop thinking you're a puppet master.
Do you think he's a puppet master?
I think it's kind of funny that these are all adults.
Right.
I find that funny, too.
Yes.
A bunch of adults calling each other jerks on the internet
It's the best part,
for
actually.
years. It is the best part. It's the best part about being us.
Who are these podcasts?